Can everybody find a seat? Preferably
Recording in
their own
progress.
seat. Oh my. Good. Oh, oops. Do the Pledge of Allegiance. Have you done the pledge? Good evening, everybody. Councillor Krinsman will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
United States of America, and to the republic for which it
one
stands,
nation,
one
under
nation,
God,
under
indivisible,
God,
for all.
indivisible,
and justice
with
for all.
liberty and justice for all.
Nailed it.
We're going to hire a conductor to conduct us in the pledge. Please be aware that this meeting is being both audio and video recorded. And now I have to announce who are the councilors that are remote. So, let's see, should I use the list? So we have Councillor Kalis, Councillor Maliki, Councillor Kelly, Councillors Bowman, Danberg, Gentile, Greenberg, Grossman, Humphrey, Laredo, Markowitz, Noel, Norton, Oliver, Wright, and Crosley. Did I get everybody? Did I miss anyone? Okay. Our first report is from Vice President Lipoff, the Land Use Committee.
Thank you, Madam President. The report starts on page 322 from our January 10th meeting. 554-22, Class 1 Auto Dealers License, Village Motors Group, Inc., DBA Honda Village, approved 7-0. 552-22, Auction Direct Pre-Owned, 1545 Washington Street, approved 7-0. 556-22, Old Time Garage Limited, 1960 Washington Street, approved 7-0. 557-22, Stans Automotive Inc., 249 Center Street, Newton Corner, approved 7-0. 558-22, 1191 Washington Street, Motor Cars of Boston Inc., approved 7-0. 3-23, Newton Center Shell, 1365 Center Street. That's a Class 1 auto license. The others are Class 2, approved 7-0. And a Class 2 auto license, 4-23, United Auto Center Inc., 454 Watertown Street, approved 7-0. 561-22, Alice Speck, a request to change nonconforming personal services use at 624, 628 Commonwealth Ave, approved 7-0. 564-22, Pamela Jagiello, Signs by J Inc., request to allow a freestanding sign at 2345 Washington Street, approved 7-0. 562-22, Trevor and Luba Stricker, request to exceed FAR at 28 Putnam Street, approved 7-0. 563-22, Fox and Toby LLC, request to raise and construct a 2-unit dwelling at 211 Melrose Street, approved 7-0. And 448-22, 345 Boylston LLC, request to extend non-conforming parking structure to construct 6 dwelling units above at 1 Jackson Street, approved 6-0-1. Councillor Lucas abstained. And I will move the report.
Thank you very much.
I also have some public hearings to assign.
Please go ahead.
For January 24th, 21-23, SSG Lexington Newton, request to allow marijuana retailer at 131 Rumford Ave. And 2 more for January 24th, 22-23, Susan and Arnold Surveys, request to exceed FAR to allow a garage exceeding 700 square feet at 4 Garrison Street. And 23-24, 23, public hearing for January 24th, request to amend special permit 289-18 at 697 Washington Street for 697 Washington Street Realty Trust. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is Councilor Crosley, Zoning and Planning Committee.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee met on January 9th, and the item was held. In addition, I need to officially sign a public hearing for February 15th, 2023.
Councilor Crosley, could you just get a titch closer to your microphone?
Hard to do. Big screen. Can you hear me better? I'm sorry, I have a cold.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. So I need to sign a public hearing. Item 477-22 is about 16 counselors requesting a discussion regarding the Massachusetts Building Energy Codes, but specifically the so-called specialized code, which is optional, to understand what it regulates beyond the stretch code and to consider adopting the specialized code for Newton. So again, that public hearing is February 15th, 2023. And I believe that's a committee of the whole. It's a separate meeting from our regularly scheduled ZAP meetings. And then I have one late filed item. So I need a suspension of the rules to be referred to committee.
If you could just read us the item itself.
Yes. The item is Her Honor the Mayor requesting amendments to sections 5.1.4, 6.4.29, and 7.8.2 in order to make on-street dining permanent.
Okay. Councilor Crosley needs a suspension of rules for that late filed item. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no? Okay.
All right. That
Thank you very
concludes my
much.
report.
Next is Councilor Krinsman, Programs and Services Committee.
Thank you, Madam President. Programs and Services Committee met on Wednesday, January 4th. First item we took up was item 513-22, the appointment of Spencer Solkoff to the Youth Commission. That item was approved 7-0. Item 514-22, the appointment of Shivani Gulati to the Youth Commission was approved 7-0. Item 515-22, the appointment of Lily Siegelman to the Youth Commission was approved 7-0. And the 516-22, the appointment of Audrey Way to the Youth Commission was also approved 7-0. We took up item 566-22. This is the appointment of Mignon Murray as the Director of Senior Services, and she was approved 7-0. The next item was held. The next item is on second call, and the remaining items were held. And with that, I would move the report.
Thank you very much. Councilor Downs, Public Safety and Transportation.
Thank you, Madam President. Public Safety and Transportation met jointly with Finance on January 9th and approved number 2023, appropriate $258,000, 524 cents from free cash for 4 police cruisers. That was amended to remove the 10 cents, and the committee approved that 7-0.
Thank you very much. Councilor, pardon? Where is it? Yes, it does say 8-0.
You're correct, it's 8-0.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, Public Facilities, Councilor Leary.
Thank you, Madam President. Let me just see where we are. Okay. The report starts on page 326. The committee met twice this week, and we met with a joint meeting with Finance on January 3rd, and this was item 1923. It was requesting authorization to appropriate and expend the sum of $150,000, and this is for purchasing a replacement trackless sidewalk clearing tractor, and Public Facilities approved 7-0. We also met on Wednesday, January 4th. First item was 1923. This was the mayor requesting an increase in the curbside mattress recycling fee from the current 50 to 60 in order to make the city whole to cover the cost of being charged to the service provider. Public Facilities approved that 8-0. 1823 is the acceptance of $2,027,000 for the Mass Works program grant. And this was for the Petty Square Improvement Project at Oak Street and Chestnut Street. And this was reimbursement to the city for final engineering design and engineering services. And Public Facilities approved that 8-0. Then we had a few reappointments. 923, President Albright reappointing Howard Goldberg of 27 Theodore Road, Newton Center, to the Designer Selection Committee for a term to expire December 31st, 2023. Public Facilities approved 8-0. 1023, President Albright reappointing Amy Mackrell, 12 Dexter Road, Newtonville, to the Designer Selection Committee for a term to expire December 31st, 2023. Public Facilities approved that 8-0. And 1123, President Albright reappointing Carol Shine of 82 Garland Road, Newton, to the Design Review Committee for a term of office to expire December 31st, 2023. And we approved that 8-0. And Madam President, I do have a public hearing to assign,
Please go ahead.
and that is on page 332. And this is 2923, request for grant of location at Elliott Street, Boylston Street, Circuit Ave, Jocelyn Place, Francis Street, Charles Street, and Margaret Road. And that will be heard tomorrow night, the 18th. And with that, I move the report.
Thank you very much. Councilor Grossman with the Finance Committee.
Thank you, Madam President. The report begins on page 327. The committee first met on Tuesday, January 3rd, jointly with the Public Facilities Committee, and took up item 19-23. Her Honor, the Mayor requesting to appropriate and expend $150,000 from free cash for the replacement of the trackless sidewalk clearing tractor. Finance approved that 8-0. The committee next met on Monday, January 9th. The first item, 20-23, was taken up jointly with the Public Safety and Transportation Committee. Her Honor, the Mayor requesting the appropriation of $258,524.10 from free cash for 4 police cruisers. That was approved as amended to $258,524 even. The vote was 7 in favor, none opposed, 1 abstention. Next item is on second call. Item 16-23, the acceptance of a $140,000 grant from the Massachusetts Community Compact Cabinet's Information Technology Grant Program. And this is for scanning of municipal documents, and that was approved 8-0. Next was 14-23, acceptance of a $35,000 grant from the Executive Office of Public Safety in the Department of Fire Services. This is for the purchase of mobile radios for fire vehicles and apparatus. That was approved 8-0. Next was 13-23, request to transfer $30,000 from the Health and Human Services, Youth Services, Personnel, and Other Stipends account to another account within the department, and that was approved 8-0. Next is 571-22, the appropriation of $225,000 from transportation mitigation funds. And this is to move funds that were initially set aside in the TRIO permit for commuter rail reimbursement to NUMO, bike share funding, and still setting aside some of those monies for reimbursement of future MBTA passes. And that was approved 7 in favor, 1 opposed. The next item 19-23 was Her Honor the Mayor requesting an increase in the curbside mattress recycling fees. That was approved 8-0. And finally was 12-23, acceptance of $68,000 from the Mass DEP Recycling Dividends Grant, and that was approved 8-0. And with that, I move the report.
Thank you very much. Councilor Laredo from the Real Property Reuse Committee.
Thank you, Madam President. The only item is on second call. Was part of unfinished business.
Okay, thank you very much. So with that, I think we can call the roll on the first call items.
Counselor Baker.
Aye.
Counselor Bowman.
Aye.
Counselor Crossley.
Aye.
Counselor Danberg.
Aye.
Counselor Downs.
Aye.
Counselor Gentile.
Aye.
Counselor Greenberg.
Aye.
Counselor Grossman.
Aye.
Counselor Humphrey.
Aye, with the exception of 20-23, for which I vote no.
Counselor Kalis.
Aye.
Counselor Kelly.
Aye.
Counselor Krinsman.
Aye.
Counselor Laredo.
Aye, with the exception of 571-22, for which I vote no.
Counselor Leary.
Aye.
Counselor Lipoff.
Aye.
Counselor Lucas.
Aye, with the exception of 571-22, for which I vote no.
Counselor Maliki.
Aye, with the exception of 571-22, on which I vote no.
Counselor Markowitz.
Aye, with the exception of 571-22, for which I vote no.
Counselor Noel.
Aye.
Counselor Norton.
Aye.
Counselor Oliver.
Aye.
Counselor Ryan.
Aye, except for 1923, which I vote no.
Counselor Wright.
Aye, except for 571-22, in which I vote no.
President Albright.
Aye.
Motion carries with 24 yeas, 0 nays, with the exception of item number 20-23 with 23 yeas and 1 no. Item number 571-22 with 19 yeas and 5 noes. And item number 19-23 with 23 yeas and 1 no.
Thank you very much. Okay, we can go right on to second call on unfinished business. So, Councilor Laredo, could you refresh our memory on item 481-22?
I'll do my best, Madam President, to try to be succinct. This is a real property reuse matter. It involves the ability to have an easement over city-owned property. The city-owned property is an underground culvert, runs underneath several what would be considered otherwise driveways in Ward 1. We have granted a couple of other easements like this, and this is really simply for the purpose of allowing the homeowner to be able to pave over a driveway to use for the family. My understanding actually from something Councilor Maliki indicated earlier is that the family has some medical need for that, for their better access. And the committee approved it 6-0.
Thank you very much. Councilor Maliki, you chartered this. Do you want to give us?
Yeah, thank you. As I said at the last meeting, my reservation about this was really setting a precedent for converting city-owned green space into private parking for houses that already have car access elsewhere off of either Wiltshire Road or one of the private ways or terraces off of Wiltshire Road. Now, I understand from Councilor Leary the medical need, and it's certainly a very sympathetic case why they want to have sort of car right next to the house on the Jackson Road side. But I think I guess I would wonder if the Real Property Use Committee would consider sort of a less permanent, less environmentally adverse way of accomplishing the same goal. The submitted plan, which was not available apparently at the real property reuse meetings, it does involve a double wide driveway, of which there are an awful lot on this stretch of Jackson Road. The other, basically all the other driveways across this type of city land on the stretch of Jackson Road predate apparently the most recent precedent, which was 20 years ago. That neighbor testified at the public hearing. All of the houses that have driveways would not otherwise have anywhere to park a car if they did not have those driveways over the easements. The remaining houses that don't have Jackson Road driveways over the easement have access from the other direction behind their houses. So I guess my concern is that we'd be and the sort of sympathetic story of the medical reason that really didn't come up at the real property reuse meeting at all. It was the approval was just based on, we did this 20 years ago for minimum price of $1, so why not do it again? But it seems like 20 years ago, we weren't as worried about heat islands. We weren't as worried about stormwater. And this is in a part of the city, Nonantum, Newton Corner, sort of on the fringe. That's kind of one of our heat islands. And if we do it for this resident now, the current owners, the other three, there's 3 more houses like this that don't have driveways, but could come along and say, we'd like that too. So it's just going to set a precedent for that. So I guess I wonder if they would consider either at least doing a single wide driveway, which would still provide the access without, so much green space being lost. And as well, making it, instead of selling an easement, which is going to last forever, these family that has the circumstances now, they might be there for 20 years, they might be there for 5 years, but the added parking spaces are going to be there forever if the easement is sold. I was wondering if it would be possible to lease the easement for the duration of this family's ownership and occupancy of the house. Seems like there might be other ways to accomplish the goal of the family's needs without, creating a precedent that would possibly be repeated and permanently lose green space. So I welcome others' comments. I might be in the minority here, but I just, had to express my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Leary.
Thank you, Madam President. I've been working with Mr. Osman for over 2 years on gaining him an easement to the front of his house to enable him to get his severely disabled, blind daughter who suffers from seizures and cannot be left alone at all, to find a way for them to be able to quickly get her to Children's Hospital, which is the hospital she has to go to. I am as sympathetic as anyone regarding excessive curb cuts or unnecessary parking. But this is really a special case. Going forward, I think Councillor Malky made a good point about the double wide driveways that are all along there, and I guess it's sort of just routine when they do these easements to do them for 20 feet for safety reasons or access, but that's totally unnecessary, as we know, and fire trucks can always just go right over the curb. Well, that's the only thing that I would say. They probably don't need a 20-foot driveway, but they do need access. The space in the back, this is a 2-family house. Other people park there. It's very tight, very difficult to negotiate. Mr. Osman's daughter sometimes uses a wheelchair. The other issue that is kind of unique about this situation is that she has a type of seizure which can cause her to actually run uncontrollably, and which means someone has to be by her all the time. And right now they're loading her on the in front of their house on Jackson Road, which is somewhat busy. They're always concerned that she could run or they get away from her and run into the road, and she doesn't have the ability to keep herself safe. So after 2 years of work and research and working with the law department, we were finally able to go through reuse to do this. And I'm really loath to have it go back to committee. If something could be done to make the driveway less wide, I would be open to that. There's also at least 6 driveways on that easement. It's certainly not a precedent. So I really would like to see this get voted through this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I have a question, and perhaps you know the answer to this one. Are they allowed to park on Jackson Road during the winter parking ban?
No, they're not.
So they really don't have a place to park 12 months a year?
Right. They would probably have to squeeze 3 cars in, which means someone would have to move their car. It would make it difficult for them to get out quickly.
Okay, thank you. And a question to Councilor Laredo. Is the 20-foot wide driveway in our council order?
I believe the easements in the council order, they can build whatever they want as long as we grant them the easement. Madam President, I appreciate Councilor Malaki's concerns, but I think this is an instance where we ought to be very sensitive to the particularized need of a homeowner, and let's try to make city government work for a resident rather than set up, a series of concerns about heat islands or, adverse precedents. I think the Real Property Reuse Committee is quite capable of dealing with precedents like this. We don't have culverts running all over the city over which, driveways are run. This is a rather isolated situation. We're trying to do right by the homeowner. I think Councilor Leary has spent clearly a tremendous amount of time trying to work with this family. And I think this is let's not micromanage this, folks. I really think we should approve this. We should approve this tonight, and we should move on. Thank you.
Thank you. So I don't see any other hands. Councilor Danberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I too appreciate the concerns that Councilor Malaki has brought up. But I agree that this is a that begs us to do right by this homeowner and not micromanage it, as Councilor Leary has said. So I will be voting in favor of the item as is.
Are there any other comments or questions? I don't see any, so I guess we could take a vote on this.
Councillor Baker. Councillor Bowman.
Aye.
Councillor Crossley.
Aye.
Councillor Danberg.
Aye.
Councillor Downs.
Aye.
Councillor Gentel.
Aye.
Councillor Greenberg.
Aye.
Councillor Grossman.
Aye.
Councillor Humphrey.
Aye.
Councillor Kalis.
Aye.
Councillor Kelly.
Aye.
Councillor Krinsman.
Aye.
Councillor Laredo.
Aye.
Councillor Leary.
Aye.
Councillor Lipoff.
Aye.
Councillor Lucas.
Aye.
Councillor Malaki.
Aye.
Councillor Markowitz.
Aye.
Councillor Noel.
Aye.
Councillor Norton.
Aye.
Councillor Oliver.
Aye.
Councillor Ryan. Councillor Wright.
Aye.
President Albright.
Aye.
Motion carries 24 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you very much. The next item, 17-23. Councilor Krinsman, would you tell us about this docket?
Thank you, Madam President. Item 17-23, this is the appropriation of $3,240,000 for Newton South High School fields and track. On January 4th, the committee took up this item. We heard from the Parks, Rec, and Culture Department about their desire to go out to bid to replace the existing turf fields at Newton South. During the meeting, we heard from the department. Several counselors were present. Several counselors raised questions in particular about the presence of PFAS in turf fields. The department, as well as consultants, informed us of the ways that the city planned to mitigate either the use or presence of PFAS materials through the process. They told us that they wanted to go out to bid so that they could start work on the fields after the spring sports season, hopefully complete the work during the summer, and have the fields in place for the following school year, the following sports seasons. They noted that the existing fields had an 8 to 10 year lifespan and have been in place for a little over 13 years. I understand that there are a couple of counselors who want to speak on this, and I understand that there is a citizens petition that we're expecting, so I can comment more on that perhaps after you've given others who put this on second call an opportunity to speak.
Thank you. So, excuse me. Counselor Downs, you put this on second call?
Madam President, the vote. I didn't give you the vote.
Oh, sorry. Yes,
The
please.
vote was 6 to 1 to 1 in favor of approving the item.
Thank you. Counselor Downs?
Thank you, Madam President. I was going to account for my no vote on this item, but given the citizens' petition, I am going to instead propose that we postpone to a date certain to allow the citizens' petition to be filed and docketed, and for programs and services to have a chance to hear from the citizens and have a public hearing. So I would propose that date certain be after that public hearing is held. And I understand that Councilor Krinsman, Chair Krinsman, wants to get this done expeditiously, so it would not create a serious delay.
Councilor Krinsman, did you want to speak about this?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. So my understanding is that the citizens petition, which is going to be filed and docketed with us, would be a 50 citizen petition, which, as folks know under the charter, requires us to have a public hearing and requires us to act on that item within 3 months, I believe it is. So in the interest of, knowing that that petition is coming, my recommendation would be to adopt this motion to postpone until a date certain. My hope would be to put out public notice as soon as possible so that at the first Programs and Services meeting in February, we could have this hearing. If the committee is in a position to move on the item at that time, that would be great. My understanding is that we don't actually need to have completed the citizens' item before we move on the item before us, but I think we will certainly, at that point after the hearing, have a lot more information, and we'll know how the Programs and Services Committee feels, at least, about that item, or we'll have at least heard from the public. So my recommendation would be to adopt the motion to postpone to a date certain. My hope would be to have the public hearing during the first week in February, the week of I think it's the 6th to the 10th. I'm going to want to talk to Programs and Services Committee members about that because I am supposed to be out of town Wednesday through Friday of that week. So I will be asking the committee whether they would prefer to move forward without me on that Wednesday night, or if folks are available on Tuesday night, in the hopes that one of those two we could have the public hearing. And so the date certain I would recommend would be the first council meeting after that first week in February.
That would be, how about saying the first council meeting after the public hearing, in case that public hearing date has to be moved back because the signatures don't come in on time? So that way you can have it this first meeting after the public hearing, whenever that is. Would that be acceptable to you?
Acceptable to me. I think the motion was for a date certain, which requires a date certain. But if it's just to postpone to the first meeting after the first Programs and Services meeting in February, that's fine with me.
And Chair Krinsman, I just wanted to remind you that you did promise the tree ordinance would be discussed solely on February 6th.
Correct. So if we need to take up this item, we may have to put the tree item off until the second meeting in February.
Okay.
On the other hand, well, I mean, I'll have to work that out with
Something
the
to be
committee.
worked out.
Yeah.
So Counselor Downs, are you okay with that slight change? Okay. Is there anybody else that wants to comment on this? So Counselor Rado?
I do a question through the president to the chair. What is the time frame for doing this work? When is it supposed to be done?
Okay, thank you, Madam President, and through you to Councilor Laredo. My understanding is that the Parks, Rec, and Culture Department wanted to put this out to bid. I think they were hoping to do it by the end of January. That will now get delayed, obviously. But they wanted to put it out for RFP in time to begin the work by this spring, with the hopes that the work could then be completed, I think, by the summer. That was my understanding.
If we delay this as proposed, will that affect the ability to do this work this summer such that it would have to be postponed for an additional year?
I don't think so. I think that we are cutting it closer by doing this. But my recollection of when I spoke with the Commissioner of Parks, Rec, and Culture about this item originally, and before we had a citizen's petition on our hands, was that we were giving ourselves, you know, maybe a 3 or 4 week buffer zone there by trying to approve this item in mid-January. And if we were to approve it by late January or mid-February, my understanding is that this could still proceed on schedule.
So if this came, may I continue, Madam President?
Please, go ahead.
So if we agree to postpone and you take this up at the beginning of February, when would it come back to the full council?
At a second meeting in February.
So the funding item before us, the $3.2 million funding item, would come before us at I think our second meeting in February. The citizens petition item might be before us at that time as well. It depends on whether the Programs and Services Committee feels ready to act on the citizens petition after that public hearing.
So, Mr. Chair, do you have, can you give us with some degree of confidence affirmation that we are going to have this heard in committee? And I realize you can't control what the committee does, but an effort to vote it out of committee at the first committee hearing in February?
I can guarantee you that we will hold this hearing at the first committee hearing in February, and my hope would be that the committee is ready to act on the item that night.
All right. I guess with those caveats in place, I think I want to listen to my colleagues, but that gives me some assurance. I am very concerned that, I'll remind folks, we're replacing an existing artificial turf. We're not putting in a brand new turf field. We're building on something that's already there. And this, frankly, as far as I'm concerned, is a safety issue. We have the safety and well-being of athletes, particularly Newton South High School athletes who are using this, and we have to be careful about that. So a delay is probably not a good idea here. Thank you.
Okay, sorry, I was just clarifying something with the clerk. Councilor Oliver, I think you're next.
Great, thank you, Madam President. Excuse me. I think what I recall in slight difference to what Councilor Krinsman just pointed out is I recall hearing that the work would barely be completed in time for the fall sports season to begin. If I remember, they had a nearly complete, almost complete, partially complete, almost done kind of a clause in there that I asked them to clarify. But my concern here isn't really the timing necessarily, although we already know that these fields are being replaced because the turf carpets that are in place today are being replaced because they are at end of life and are becoming a hazard or have become a hazard. My concern is really that we don't have a plan B in this city. If we do not replace the turf fields, we don't have a plan to maintain the playability of all of our youth sports if we replace these fields with grass. Even if we stop issuing all permits to Tier 5, even if we improve the quality of fields, as I've read in some of these letters, the playability time isn't there. So I would ask my colleagues to consider that as we move forward here. I'm perfectly comfortable with a further kind of investigation or hearing, but I got to tell you, without a plan B, grass field, utilizing grass fields, I can't support an item that continues to remove options because we believe that there is some amount of PFAS in these fields. And what I did hear very clearly from our contractor is that there is no testing available that allows us to prove or disprove, frankly, the presence of PFAS in these materials. So I am concerned from that perspective, but I do appreciate the intelligence and the opportunity to have a further discussion here. So I am going to be very curious to hear from additional counselors on the matter. But anyway, let's press for a plan B here before we unilaterally make a decision that is going to take, a lot of youth sports offline. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Grossman.
Thank you, Madam President. A few things. First of all, I don't think I reported this out for Finance Committee. And obviously, Councillor Krinsman summarized the item quite well, but Finance took it up separately. And our vote was 6 in favor, 1 opposed, and 1 abstention. I also just wanted to make sure I understand a couple procedural things. So if there's a citizen's petition, that's a separate docket item than this docket item. Is that why we're talking about a date
Yes.
certain and not sending back
Yes.
to committee? Okay.
Yes.
So that makes sense. The second meeting in February, is that school break week?
Just a
Yes.
second, the clerk
So-
is testing it.
I'm pretty sure that it is.
It usually is, so you're right. You're probably right.
That's definitely, I don't know what others' plans are. I will definitely, that will be a problem for me in terms of participation personally. Aside from that, I'm just not in favor of delaying this. Councillor Laredo and Councillor Oliver both summed up main points that are on my mind. I felt we discussed this really thoroughly in Finance Committee. I thought it was discussed very thoroughly in Programs and Services Committee, that the concerns were aired and that the votes came out how they came out. I just, I feel that we may just be delaying things without a lot of new or helpful information. Perhaps I will be proven wrong on that point. But personally, I'm prepared to move forward with it this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Noel.
Thank you so much. I align myself too with Councillor Grossman. I sat on both committees. I spoke in both committees, my feelings about this. We don't have a plan B. The proposal on the table is better than what's existing currently, even in terms of environmental impact. I agree there's a safety concern, and I as well will not be in attendance on February 21st. And if history, if I'm reminded properly, we've come close to not having enough folks on that particular night to run a full meeting. So we have to be thoughtful if we're going to count on that to move this forward.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kalis.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Noel there and those that have spoken. I do think we should be moving forward. I guess procedurally, if we move forward, I mean, actually, a question through the chair, do we have the petition yet or not?
I can explain that we do not yet have the petition. Our clerk has been dealing with it because it did not come in with the proper signatures. So
Okay.
they're in the process of fixing that.
So we're not even, I mean, I would think there's probably a very slim chance that we won't get one, but let's say we do get one, but we've already approved it. Then what? I mean, what's the difference between voting now or waiting? Or is it the same?
Councilor Krinsman.
Thank you, Madam President, and through you to everyone else. The two possibilities are that we have a public hearing on the citizens petition and the minds of enough of our colleagues are persuaded that this is an improper course of action, and so we potentially wouldn't pass this item. The alternative is that we pass the item either tonight or after reviewing the citizens petition. If we were to pass the item tonight and the citizens petition comes in, the Programs and Services Committee would still be required to hold a hearing. We would still be required to take action on that docket item. And if the City Council felt that some emergency action was necessary to stop the process of procuring the artificial turf replacement, we might still have time to do that because there is an RFP process that would take place through the city. Does that answer the question?
So do you have a process in mind about how the council would have to docket something to undo what we had done?
Correct.
Okay.
But you're saying it would allow the department to proceed with the RFP?
I'm saying that approval of this item, my understanding is that approval of this item is going to allow the department to move forward with the RFP because they would then have a funding source.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Downs?
Thank you, Madam President. I think out of respect for the citizens' petition, we should probably put off our vote until after we have heard from them. And that is why I rise to speak. On the larger issue, we can debate that tonight or we can debate that afterward. I think we probably should debate that after having heard from more of the public. But if my colleagues want to move forward on this tonight, then I want to rise again.
Thank you. Councilor Danberg.
Thank you. A point of information. Would there be a 20-day waiting period if we were to vote on it tonight? And if so, would that 20-day period fall, would the receipt of the petition and any actions that we would take on that fall within that 20-day period or outside of it?
Councilor Danberg, I've looked into this 20-day waiting period recently for another docket item, and we don't really have the opportunity to re-vote on something during that 20-day waiting period, if that's not what the purpose of it is. So that would not help in this particular problem. Councilor Leary.
Thank you, Madam President. I was very involved in the whole issues with athletic fields and how short of fields we are. And as Councilor Laredo mentioned, we are replacing existing turf fields. If we don't use turf fields, we will have a huge problem with capacity. We cannot support the level of athletics performance and playing time without them. Frankly, the newer fields are probably much safer, and I know they've moved away from PFAS. I don't have a lot of specifics, but I remember in the Program and Services meeting that the extrusion process, where they were moving away from that, so there would not be any PFAS in it, as opposed to the PFAS that are all over everything else, the clothes we wear, the plans we use. For God's sake, Nonantum is full of TCE in our groundwater. I am very obviously concerned about any unnecessary toxics exposure, but I really think this is a very limited issue in terms of everything else, and the huge need and the equity issue and the importance of getting kids out playing and the work that's gone into this. As been said before, there is no plan B. Delaying this will mean that we will lose time. Though I think I know where this is going this evening, I would not support delaying it out, and as much as I respect the citizens' petition.
Thank you very much. Councilor Rado.
So I'm going to agree with my colleagues, Larry, Noel, Grossman, Oliver, and I'm sure I forgot somebody else along the way, and Kalis, forgive me. We don't, as others have said, we do not have an alternative here. We do not have an alternative, number one. Number two, this is not about building a new artificial turf field. If it were, I think we would delay, would be quite appropriate. We could think more about it. We could examine any issues. We could try to grapple with whatever concerns there are. But that's not what we're doing here. We have an existing field that we need to make sure is safe. And frankly, delay is not appropriate. So I will vote against the motion to delay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Oh, Councilor Downs, did you want to say something? No. Yeah, Councilor Downs, did you have anything? No. Yes.
If we do not delay tonight, I expect this item will be chartered, not that I will charter it. And I am not going to be present at the next meeting of council. So I will give my brief remarks on this at this point, if I may.
Well, we're talking about the motion to delay.
Right.
And you did say a few things, but you want to say more?
Yeah, I just wanted to give my reasons for, I would vote for delaying, but I'd also vote against the motion.
Okay, you may need, just I'm warning you, you may need to ask for more time.
Fine. I understand and have read all the materials involved with this item, and I understand that we desperately need a good field. I was there when we, as a league observer, when we voted to install this field, and there were a lot of questions then and a lot of promises made, but the funding or whatever was not there to do the kind of research that we really needed to do. But that's water under the bridge. I understand this material is not as hot as other materials we could use, that it incorporates sand, that it will be moderately recyclable, it will be more stable and less likely to leach. I understand that natural turf takes increased maintenance and often chemicals. But as Councilor Oliver said, there is no way to prove or disprove the incidence of PFAS in this material, and there are several reasons for that. PFAS is something I deal with almost every day in my day job because of its presence in water and wastewater, and I'm on a wastewater advisory committee. I'm a director to a wastewater advisory committee. Last I checked, and I've checked over the years multiple times, but last I checked, which was about a year ago, we have gone from 2 PFAS compounds to 3 PFAS compounds, which are now banned, to 500 PFAS compounds, and the last I checked, it was over 9,000 PFAS compounds. We can test with certified and approved tests for only 29 of those. And the amounts that are possibly a concern when they hit your drinking water, and admittedly drinking water has higher standards than stormwater or groundwater. When it's in drinking water, Massachusetts allows 20 parts per billion with a B, which is a very minuscule amount. Anything over that, you have to filter your water, and those filters are expensive. And PFAS, to our knowledge so far, cannot be destroyed. It's there forever. That's why it's called a forever chemical. And the regulations on how to dispose of anything with PFAS, the known PFAS content, is becoming increasingly expensive because we cannot burn it. Landfills, as we know, are filling up. So my worry is that we are looking at a future expense in 8 to 10 years when this field needs to be replaced in trying to dispose of it. And because I know of the many concerns around the health effects of PFAS, and I know we're dealing with children, I just felt I couldn't vote for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gentile.
So I understand that there are some people that will never be comfortable with artificial turf, and I respect that position. And I don't expect it to change. But this subject is not something new to the council. We've been discussing this for many, many years. You know, the value and the, you know, environmental concerns about turf fields. So it's not something new to us. This latest subject matter has already been heard by 2 committees. I can't remember the votes offhand, but I think that over 12 people have already voted in favor of moving forward with the replacement of this turf field, and also the work to be done at the track. So I don't understand, knowing the time frame and the fact that it is tight to begin with, why tonight, in light of the fact that so many people have already voted on this, and there's still 8 additional votes out there, I believe. I don't understand why we would hold it up, because there is, I guess threat isn't the right word, but there is the possibility of a petition coming to us, but we don't even have the petition yet. And again, I understand that, you know, it's a very good chance that we'll get one, but the fact that we might get a petition, to me, that just doesn't make sense to hold this whole thing up over that. So I certainly will not vote to delay this. I hope that there'll be a majority of people that will join us so that we can continue to do our job, which is what a majority of us, I believe, want, is to move this project forward. And then if something happens after this, then obviously we will have to deal with it, and we will have to follow the charter and do what we have to do. But for now, we should continue down the path that we have been on. Thank you.
Just to clarify, because I just want to be fair to the situation, the petition came in this morning, I believe, but it came in with the signatures typed in a list. And the clerk met with the law department and found out that they have to actually give us the signatures. So that's the signature issue.
I understand, Madam President, that something came in, but it came in incorrect. But the fact of the matter is, there's no petition in front of us right now.
Correct.
And I don't think that that should delay the actions that we have taken to this point. And I think that a majority of the councilors are ready to continue to support and move forward.
Thank you very much. Councillor Norton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I hope that there will be support for, am I showing up twice on here? Sorry about that. I don't know why.
Can't get enough of you.
Well, that's how I feel. So I'm glad you feel the same way.
And by the way, hold on. Council Markowitz, you look to me like you're in the inside of a giant Rubik's Cube. Are you?
Councillor Markowitz and Councillor Gentile, can we discuss this later? Councillor Norton, go ahead.
It's a window
okay.
at Mont Saint Michel.
Yeah, I mean, Council Markowitz in a Rubik's Cube is probably more interesting than anything I'm about to say, but I will move ahead. So it's no small feat to pull together a 50-person petition, and they didn't know the exact rules to get it right to do that. I do think it's reasonable to at least hear people out at a public hearing about this. And just on a wider level, folks may recall that former Vice President Al Gore put together a book and a movie called Inconvenient Truth. And he did that, and he called it that because a lot of the way that our lives, our economy, our society depend on burning fossil fuel. So it's very inconvenient, but the entire way we've set up our lives is killing us. And I think that this issue is a perfect example of that. I have 3 boys. They love sports. Of course, I support Fields, but I'm not going to vote for something that, as Councillor Downs pointed out eloquently, is poisonous. And I think that we should give people a chance to tell us how they feel about that. I am quite confident that if we were to move ahead or not move ahead with this, that we could figure out something else. But we haven't even tried to do that because it's very clear that this is going to be approved. So I shared some of these factoids at the Programs and Services Committee, but I'm going to do it again just so people are aware in more detail about what PFAS is comprised of. So just for folks who are not aware and anyone who's watching, PFAS are a group of fluorinated organic chemicals widely used in consumer products and firefighting foams because of their ability to repel water and oil. Teflon, stain-resistant fabrics, even tooth floss has PFAS in it. They are called forever chemicals because they do not break down ever. PFAS have been linked to thyroid disease, changes to metabolism, decreased fertility, cancer, and more. They are particularly harmful to vulnerable populations such as fetuses, infants, and children. DuPont and 3M knew about the toxicity of these products in animals and humans starting in the 1960s, but kept it hidden even from their own staff who were having babies with birth defects. At this time, there are no federal regulations regarding PFAS. They've been found to be toxic to people at extremely low levels, as low as 1 part per trillion. And Councillor Downs meant to say trillion, not billion. Last year, Mass DEP and the U.S. Geological Survey sampled 27 rivers across Massachusetts and found PFAS in all of them. So this is already widespread, maybe because we don't know exactly who is getting cancer and thyroid disease. Maybe that makes it okay. That's not okay for me or my kids or any of our kids. So that's why I don't feel good about supporting this. I will vote against it when the time comes. And I think we should at least give our residents a chance to tell us how they feel and be educated from one another. So I hope that there is a vote to delay to allow that hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kelly.
Thank you. I guess I must be one of the minority of 8 councillors who have not yet voted on this in one committee or another. I don't happen to sit on either of the ones that have heard it. I am aligning myself with the comments of Councillors Downs and Norton. I want to wait to hear what the petition and what the public hearing brings forward. I would like to have more information and education. I think, like all of us, and maybe more than some, I'm concerned about PFAS, and I will vote to delay, and I would otherwise vote no on this right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lucas.
Thank you, President Albright. Speaking to the motion made by Councillor Downs, I will support it. We have received several emails and several presentations from the Newton residents who are opposed to the athletic turf fields. I believe we should hear formally what they have to say, and I think we should postpone the vote, and we should hear from them, and let's hear what they have to say, and then we should vote on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wright.
I just want to agree with Councillors Downs, Norton, Kelly, and Lucas, and we should, I
want to vote to delay this, and if we can't do it, I will vote no on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Maliki?
Thank you. I also agree with the previous speakers cited by Councilor Wright and Councilor Wright herself. I think we should wait to hear from the petitioners. And last I heard, they were something at 71 signatures. It seems to me that I was not here on the council, obviously, when the original turf fields went in. I do remember controversy about it then and had my own misgivings. It seems like it's kind of almost a toxic relationship. It's like, you know, you have doubts, you marry the guy or woman, and it's just easier to stay with him than try to get out of it, because the alternative seems like so much trouble and so expensive or whatever. I feel like the reason we have no alternative plan B is that, I mean, clearly the Parks and Recreation and Culture Department isn't really interested in putting one together, but I believe I believe the school department is going to be putting together a plan B budget if the override doesn't pass and so forth. So I don't know how you get a sincere effort, but I would like to see that attempted. So we actually did have a scenario for what we might do the best we could, whether it's rationing playing times more so than we have to do now or whatever. But I think we need to hear from the people who put this petition together. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Lipoff?
It's not that I don't want to hear from our citizens. We always want to. But I agree with Councilor Gentile and others that talk about the fact that this has been vetted through our committees with 12 votes there. I've done a little research talking to some people in Parks and Rec, and this field is as much about safety for the kids, because it's gone 13 years when it should have gone 8 to 10. And that's a very serious thing. Also, the technology has changed. The level of chemicals is much reduced. The tire material that needs to be recycled, those tires would have been recycled if they were tires before. Eventually, they're going to get recycled. And the material that they're going to use is far more advanced. The field itself, the matting, is going to be recycled and used as a buffer, as a padding underneath the new ones in the industry. So we've come a long way. This is about safety. The 1,500 hours that these fields get, to replace that with grass fields, it would take 3 fields, because they can take about 500 hours before they become useless. This is about function. This is about safety, and this is about a system that is much more environmentally friendly than the one we put in 13 years ago. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Councilor Wright, your hand is up. Is that because you want to speak again? No. Okay. I see no others, and I think, so this vote is on, Councilor Krinsman, do you have something?
I do. I want to speak quickly, Madam President. Thank you. Earlier, I had spoken in support of delay, but I think my colleagues have convinced me that there is most likely support for this item on the City Council. So I am persuaded that our most prudent course of action would be to try and move forward with this item tonight, while at the same time moving forward with the citizens petition docket item expeditiously, and giving ourselves the opportunity to intervene if it's necessary at that time. So my commitment is to take up the petition as soon as it's filed, move forward quickly with that, and to report back to this council if I think that we need to do anything differently.
Okay. Is that it? I think that's it. I think we can vote now.
Just to clarify, this is a motion to postpone to the first council meeting after the public hearing?
Is that correct, Councilor Downs? Yes.
Thank you. Counselor Baker. Counselor Bowman.
No.
Counselor Crossley.
Aye.
Counselor Danberg.
Aye.
Counselor Downs.
Aye.
Counselor Gentile.
No.
Counselor Greenberg.
No.
Counselor Grossman.
No.
Counselor Humphrey.
No.
Counselor Kalis.
No.
Counselor Kelly.
Aye.
Counselor Krinsman.
No.
Counselor Laredo.
No.
Counselor Leary.
No.
Counselor Lipoff.
No.
Counselor Lucas.
Aye.
Counselor Maliki. Counselor Maliki.
Did we lose
Sorry,
Councilman?
aye.
So, I'm sorry, say that again.
Aye, I was muted.
Counselor Markowitz.
Aye.
Counselor Noel.
No.
Counselor Norton.
Aye.
Counselor Oliver.
No.
Counselor Ryan. Counselor Wright.
Aye.
President Albright.
Aye.
Motion fails, 10 yeas, 14 nays.
I'm going to charter the item.
No, you have to be recognized first, and I have my hand up.
Oh, go ahead, Bill.
Counselor Humphrey. Go back to the main item.
Yep.
Counselor
Madam
Humphrey.
President, I move for a roll call on the main item.
You're calling the question.
Yep.
Okay.
Happy to charter now.
Pardon, Counselor Norton, what did you say?
Well,
I'm
she
charting
has
it.
to be recognized in order to do that.
Yeah, Counselor Humphrey called the question.
Counselor Baker.
The main item.
Yes.
Counselor
Please
Bowman.
clarify aye and no. What?
So if you vote aye, you will be voting in favor of the fund, approving the funds for the 3 turf fields, 2
Point of
turf
order,
fields.
Madam President, I've chartered, I believe our rules are you can just charter it.
No, you
cannot.
have to be recognized. We've been down this road before. You have to be recognized first.
Point of order?
Yes.
Aren't we voting on whether to call the question first?
No, you don't have to vote on that.
I was told that last time I called the question.
You can call a vote on that if it's in question, Madam President.
Okay.
May I second it?
Are you asking to vote on the question? Okay. And you are in agreement, whoever said that? You seconded?
Ms. Greenberg.
Yes, okay. So we're now going to vote on whether or not to call the question. So if you vote aye on this, you will be saying, yes, we should call the question, and we should vote immediately as the next thing we do. If you vote no, we will go back to the main item, and we will not have the question called. Does that make sense now? So aye is you're agreeing to have the vote right now as the next thing we do. No means that we will be back to discussing the main item.
We can discuss the main item.
Okay?
So this is the motion on the call to question approval. Counselor Baker. Aye. Counselor Bowman.
Aye.
Counselor Crossley.
Aye.
Counselor Danberg.
Aye.
Counselor Downs.
No.
Counselor Gentile.
I'm sorry, I just need clarification. This is on calling the question.
Exactly. If you vote yes, you will agree to have the vote as the next thing we do. If you vote no, we will be back to discussing the main item.
All right, thank you. I apologize. Yes, aye.
Counselor Greenberg.
Aye.
Counselor Grossman.
Aye.
Counselor Humphrey.
Aye.
Counselor Kalis.
Aye.
Counselor Kelly.
No.
Counselor Krinsman.
Aye.
Counselor Laredo.
Aye.
Counselor Leary.
Aye.
Counselor Lipoff.
Aye.
Counselor Lucas.
No.
Counselor Maliki.
No.
Counselor Markowitz.
No.
Counselor Noel.
Aye.
Counselor Norton.
No.
Counselor Oliver.
Aye.
Counselor Ryan.
Aye.
Counselor Wright.
No.
President Albright.
Aye.
Motion carries 17 yeas, 7 nays.
Okay, now we, we voted on it, now we'll call a question. Have the vote.
Counselor Baker. Counselor Bowman.
Aye.
Counselor Crosley.
Aye.
Counselor Danberg.
Aye.
Counselor Downs.
No.
Counselor Gentile.
Aye.
Counselor Greenberg.
Aye.
Counselor Grossman.
Aye.
Counselor Humphrey.
Aye.
Counselor Kalis.
Aye.
Counselor Kelly.
No.
Counselor Krinsman.
Aye.
Counselor Laredo.
Aye.
Counselor Leary.
Aye.
Counselor Lipoff.
Aye.
Counselor Lucas.
Aye.
Counselor Maliki.
No.
Counselor Markowitz.
Aye.
Counselor Noel.
Aye.
Counselor Norton.
No.
Counselor Oliver.
Aye.
Counselor Ryan.
Aye.
Counselor Wright.
No.
President Albright.
Aye.
Motion carries 19 yeas, 5 nays.
Okay. We have no other business, but the clerk needs to address a problem that she discovered during the meeting.
This is just a clarification on the reports docket. We have an item number that's in error just for the reports docket. To clarify.
Madam President, I don't mean to interrupt, Madam President, but as we're still on this item, I want to do a motion to reconsider.
Was that Counselor Bowman or Counselor Noel?
Noel.
Who was it?
Counselor Noel.
Counselor Noel. Counselor Noel has asked us to reconsider. So we'll need to have a vote on that. Are we ready to vote? So reconsidering means that if you vote no, that means that the vote that we just took stands. If you vote yes or aye, that means we are back to discussing the main item.
Counselor Baker.
No.
Counselor Bowman.
No.
Counselor Crosley.
No.
Counselor Danberg.
No.
Counselor Downs.
No.
Counselor Gentile.
No.
Counselor Greenberg.
No.
Counselor Grossman.
No.
Counselor Humphrey.
No.
Counselor Kalis.
No.
Counselor Kelly.
No.
Counselor Krinsman.
No.
Counselor Laredo.
No.
Counselor Leary.
No.
Counselor Lipoff.
No.
Counselor Lucas.
No.
Counselor Maliki.
No.
Counselor Markowitz.
No.
Counselor Noel.
No.
Counselor Norton.
No.
Counselor Oliver.
No.
Counselor Ryan.
No.
Counselor Wright.
Oh, sorry, no.
President Albright.
No.
Motion carries 24, motion fails. 0 nays, 24 nays.
Thank you very much. And now, Madam Clerk, would you tell us about that problem?
Yes, on the reports docket on page 326, it states that item for the appropriate $150,000 from certified free cash that was referred to Finance and Public Facilities. It has the wrong item number. It says it's docket item 1923, when in fact it is docket item 570-22. And on page 327, the correct docket item is for the increased curbside mattress recycling fees. That is docket item 19-23, which Councilor Ryan did vote against in first call, and that is the correct item number. Thank you.
So that was just to clarify all that. Thank you very much for that. And now, Counselor Krinsman, we need a motion. Thank you very much. I vote in favor.